All right.
Connecting to
It says everything was connected to me, but all I see is one next to Rumble. Maybe that's
Rumble,
who
YouTube, Twitch, and X.
I don't know.
It's still working
Oh,
on
maybe that's
YouTube.
just who's watching.
Starting stream.
I don't know.
It's still swirling on YouTube here.
Is it? Mine said it was all good. I got the little countdown and bing, bang, boom. I'm in.
Well, maybe we're going. I don't know why I can't see something here. Well, let's just go.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, when I logged into your stream earlier, you were sitting there for 30 seconds, just kind of and I was like, what's Fritz doing here? And I was like, hey, I'm live. And I was like, you've been live, bro.
The beginning of this thing could be people looking at me staring into nothing and going, what is going on? Well,
yeah, I think it absolutely was. You should watch the replay.
Oh, hey, I'm on X too, so we're streaming live. I can see it.
All right.
We're on. So that's cool.
Yeah, we've been on.
We've been on. We're just not doing anything.
We've been on for 1 minute and 20 seconds. Look at old fogies
here
trying
we
to
go.
figure out
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. It connected to YouTube. So
yeah.
Gee, we're figuring
one
it
of those,
out.
maybe you should change. Can you change the countdown to be a minute? You see those people run the bumper music and all that kind of stuff and go starting soon, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
there's a way I can do that. There's a trailer video. I can have it play and something.
Yeah, maybe that.
I keep saying and writing down 2024 at work. And when I was talking, it's it's January 4th, 2024. Yesterday was Genesis Day.
Birthday. Yeah. Happy birthday, Bitcoin.
Happy birthday, Bitcoin.
Yay. I didn't even realize, dude. Once you log off from X, the world disappears. The only thing I've been focused on is golf and looking at properties out here and yeah, man, it's so now logging back in, I was like, oh yeah, the world's going on, terror attacks and all this stuff. I'm just like, what's all this crap? What the hell? What's with the Tesla guy? What's with the Cybertruck guy?
Dude, it's
some shady business.
It's weird. I mean, so on one hand, initially the mainstream media kind of jumped all over it like a Cybertruck blew up, batteries or tech or sort of the typical Tesla FUD.
Right.
Elon was quick on it saying it was a bomb and that truck contained a lot of the bomb. Even after it blew up, I mean, the truck was fairly intact and the explosion kind of went up.
Oh.
But the question is, who is this guy? What was the motivation? He was in the military, or I don't know, was
some intelligence guy, right?
Some sort of drone work and military related work, and sort of seemed square and straight and narrow.
Yeah.
You wouldn't strike him as someone who overtly hated Trump or Elon all that much. And nothing in his profile and stuff that's come up is all that political. So it's kind of like, okay, biggest thing in this guy's life was that he had a breakup or was going through maybe a life change. But to rent a Cybertruck at $1,000 a day and drive from Colorado in a weird route to Las Vegas, New Mexico, and then Las Vegas, Nevada, to blow it up with kind of firework level crap.
Well, I've seen people talking about stuff, but you go, well, if you put it in self-driving mode and you say, go to Las Vegas and blow something up.
Yeah.
And then it goes, okay, I'm in Las Vegas. And you go, look, not that Las Vegas, you jackass. God dang it. Oh.
Yeah.
Reprogram, send it back on its way. But I guess the only trouble there is how do you get it to charge, right? If there's no one in the vehicle. So
yeah, it's weird. Evie, what are you doing?
Uh-oh. You got an invader.
3-year-old.
First live show and the 3-year-old shows up.
Adults only here. Yeah, keep it PG-3 for now.
Well, I think. Bye. Say B for Bitcoin.
Evie, come here. Come here. Look. Come stand up right here. You want to see? Okay, stand right here. There's Evie. Okay, turn and look. What is that right there? What's on the wall? What's that? Say it loud. What is it? Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Good job. She's smart. Okay, that's
Nice.
Evie, and she's live in our podcast right now.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so yeah, it's a whole weird operation. Like, seriously, don't quite understand the guy's motivations. Seems like weird. Is it politics or angst against the world? The guy didn't seem that way.
It's shenanigans. Almost
Yeah,
guaranteed.
I don't
Always
know.
shenanigans.
But there's also no clear cover story from the deep state saying, "Oh, we think it could be this or that." It's like I'm not getting that either. So
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know.
I think that's probably their motivation, right? Is they just go here. Well, you guys just speculate wildly while we are busy smashing your life in the
Yeah,
background.
and who knows? Just general. It could be easily just generalized New Year's. Prep your brain for more,
Yeah,
folks.
for the shenanigans to come.
It's like, oh, it's a new year, clean slate. Oh, wait, remember we're in a fear state.
Yeah, don't forget to be afraid.
Don't forget to be afraid.
Well, that was one of the really nice things about getting off Twitter, Xter, Twixter, whatever you want to call it, X.
Mhm.
Because I was off for like a month, man. And the weird thing was, like, I was just talking, or not talking, but sort of chatting with Justin, and I said, "Yeah, man, I took a break." And he said, "Oh, I really need like a 7-day detox." And I was like, "Yeah." He said it was like cocaine. And so when I
Yeah,
thought about it, it was like it was really hard to just like not pick up X and look at it every day, right? And then after about 3 or 4 days, it got really hard to pick it up and look at X. It was just like it was literally just like quitting drinking or smoking or something. It was just like the first few days, like, oh, I want X, and then the after that is just like, X, ugh.
yeah,
And I would just open it briefly, just and like I would just see one statement from one person, just go, nope, don't want to see any of this crap. I don't care.
yeah,
I don't want to get into this clickbait nonsense. Just it's all rabble rousing really what it looks like to me is like just everyone's just vying for eyeballs, right? Like they just,
yeah,
and I know it's a business and I know people are trying to, make a living doing this kind of stuff. And so that's, the name of the game is drive engagement, right? But God, it ends up being this like really low quality sort
well,
of, I mean,
yeah.
it's just, you know,
Well, and it can
shit.
get real fiat short time preference. It can be addictive itself. I think people
Yeah,
people get. I mean, it's one thing to you know lurk and browse, and then it's another to get likes and interaction. It's another thing to like be maintaining some sort of personality about it, and you like or getting to a new standard. Like I need so many a day.
right.
So there was one random post you made about just our last podcast. I put it up. You retweeted it, just saying jaw jacking,
Yeah.
having taken a break. Did you see that trolling? Like, get the fuck out of here. Somebody
No,
commented on that. Oh God, don't even look at it. Somebody
really?
was like,
Now I have to look at it. What did it
"Oh
say?
God, it's funny." I just thought it. So I was like, "Was there something that you said?" No, I don't think so. I think it's just trolling for clicks. But someone just how they saw it, I don't know. They said, if you're taking a break, then get the fuck out.
Really?
It's sort of like,
God,
I don't
I
know.
mean,
I
it's
don't know
been
what the
so
point of
long
it was.
since I've been on this thing. Like, let's see here. And that's just the part you publish. What? I got banned on TikTok, followed.
That was before that. Or no,
Yes,
let me think.
indeed. I don't even see. I didn't even get a notification that someone commented. Maybe I should go to my
Oh,
timeline. This is probably really compelling viewing, like watching some
yeah,
pseudo
right.
boomer
How
just
do
like
we
scroll through
how
his timeline going, "How do I see stuff?"
the current Generation X boomer transition, anyway, people are
Let's see here.
trolling on people troll.
I
I
see
think
one comment, but it's like hidden. You post
oh, weird.
engagements. Like,
I don't
yeah,
know.
there's nothing. It didn't show up, dude. Like, I can see where there was a something, but
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
maybe it's
anyway, somebody was like trolling, and it could have been tongue in cheek for fun, but if you read it, you're just like,
I can't read it. God dang it.
let me
Ugh.
find it. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just kind of,
You got to read it to me, Fritz.
yeah. Now I gotta find
Let's
it.
be more boomer and sit here on a live stream going like, where's the button for the
Show
Twitter?
Grandpa where to
Yeah.
click.
Where's the any key?
Yeah, right. Anyway, people get trolly, and I think
I think
I
that's
think it's for the
hilarious.
clicks.
If you were,
I love
you
I
got to
love
find it. Man. I got to see this.
I love Justin. I say Beckler. He's
Yeah,
busy.
maybe Justin can clear this up. Is it Beekler or Beckler or?
You got to tell us, Justin, because we do care. We don't mean anything by not knowing your last name enunciation.
I've met him in person. You think I should know this?
Yeah, you should know. You
I should. It's irresponsible of me. I'm looking at property, Fritz.
Okay, so yeah, you're touching grass and sagebrush and stuff. So you're looking at settling with new stuff, huh?
Yeah. Well, I've been looking at like these rural properties. I found like a 10-acre spread, like about uh what 90 miles, 60 miles south of here, maybe something like that. It's like 30 miles south and then 30 miles in, and it's yeah, I mean it's like dirt roads to get there, and then two tracks, and then kind of like overrun. This used to be a subdivision back in 1974, but now that road is just mostly rocks and weeds. But yeah, 10
Not a bad
acres.
way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just out in the middle of nowhere. I'm kind of like, maybe I'll just go out there and be like a lunatic and just start mining Bitcoin off grid or something like that.
There is an energy to that, that when you get used to being, in a certain kind of a house, certain kind of a neighborhood, certain area of town, or in a city.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a reason when you live out kind of in it a little bit like I do. Like I don't get this huge inclination, like I got to go camping.
right.
But there are people that get that, like, we got to go camping.
Yeah,
And that comes from a place where you deep down, you miss being in it and
right. Being in
touching
nature.
Mother Nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're out there, it's definitely gets into your skin, into your blood.
Well, the kind of
And
crazy thing about it is there's no like zoning restrictions or covenants on the land or anything. So it's sort of just like, as long as you're meeting environmental regs, like you're not just taking a shit on the ground kind of thing. You're pretty much good to go, right? So I mean, it's super tempting right now. I'm kind of looking at it just like, but then I also kind of picture myself like driving all the way out there and like, all right, I'm gonna build a little homestead, and then like first day breaking my leg and being laying out there for like 2 weeks.
right.
Somebody help me! Oh my god, I can't get off my property because I broke my leg. Ah! So I feel
Paradise
like I need
Lost.
to get Elon's satellite internet first, like
Yeah.
before I break
Certain
ground on
basics.
anything.
Some people, I mean, there's probably so many examples. Like they made a movie about that kid that went out to Alaska, and even as prepared as people are, they've got this itch and inclination, like I'm going to get out into nature.
Yeah, and then
Henry
nature
David
kicks
Thoreau, and then you know, and then you realize it's nice when it's nice, and then when summer comes to an end and life's kind of happening, and you're like, oh shit, like I don't know how to live out here actually. You got
yeah.
to sort things out.
Actually, yeah. Well, the nice thing about it is it's like half a mile from a county maintained road, but it's
Mm,
like a dirt road, right? So you got to be a little rugged. The weird thing about the property is there's like a road that runs right diagonally through the middle of it, and I'm kind of like, what? Does that mean I have to like let people drive through the middle of my property? I mean, it's like 10 acres, so you kind of go, well, who cares, right? But
huh,
I don't know. I got
maybe.
to talk to the land company and see what that's all about. And
Yeah.
but yeah, man, it looks like I mean, there's part of me that's just like, screw it, just go buy it and who cares, and just like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But
It's land. Yeah. Like it's not I mean, what happens? A fire rips through and it takes another 10 years for the sagebrush to grow back, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, that's it.
But
I mean, I kind of look at it like I was thinking more along the lines of like I'm just going to leave everything kind of intact, like just enough clear space around the structure that I'm going to live in, kind of thing. and then just put up some snake fencing around, just to make sure I don't get any rattlesnakes in my yard, and just kind of let nature be its thing. But yeah, I mean, it's all scrub desert and little like bushy evergreen type trees, and just scrub bushes and scrub grass and a little bit of
Mm.
rocks. Like I saw one of the pictures, there's like a red cross planted in the middle of it somehow. I'm just like, what sort of human stuff is happening out here? Like,
Somebody buried something.
yeah, like I don't want to get out there and just like, wonder what's next to this cross. Like, oh, that's a family of 4 buried in the
Oh,
ground. Great. We'll call the county sheriff and, hey, can you come out and get these bones out of here, man? I don't.
oh
Ugh.
boy.
So I don't know, but I
Uh,
mean, it looks like a really cool property. There's some other properties that are like sort of 6 miles in from habitation, but I'm also kind of looking at it like that could be something where I might have neighbors in the next 10 years and just be like, dang it, I should have bought further out,
yeah. Well, and it could be X marks the spot, like somebody buried their cold card or something. Maybe there's a hard wallet.
Yeah, dig it
Little
up and
gold
just be
bar.
like, I wonder if I can crack this. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we've had snow and not horribly cold, but definitely like, oh yeah, it's winter time. Not not golfing weather exactly, except certain people. I
Yeah.
that account that trolled you, it's like been closed or deleted or something. I looked, it's gone.
Oh, what? I wanted to make a new
I
friend.
I was browsing through some of that. I can't remember the name of the account, but I remember when I got that comment and it was like, "Go fuck yourself." And I was like, "Who is this person? Like, do they have a grind for an axe to grind?" I was looking at them and they're kind of trolly generally, but they were kind of Bitcoiner, I guess. Well, they're gone, so whatever they were.
Well, boo. Maybe they'll
Boo
come
hoo.
back and shit on my head
Uh,
again. Oh.
Genesis Day,
Yeah.
funny. So Sailor had his home party at home in Miami, apparently.
Oh,
Did you see things about that? Posts about people being at Sailor's house?
I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything. Like I
Sailor had
just got back on Twitter today.
it was kinda like a 100K Genesis Day party at Sailor's house. Um,
I didn't get an invite.
I wasn't invited. I don't know
Oh, what's
why.
up, dude? We've
There
talked to
was
the
some
guy in person. Come on,
yeah,
Sailor. What's up, bro?
I have touched him. Uh, I gave him a Satoshi's Militia sticker,
You
but
you you
he,
should qualify that touching Michael Saylor.
yeah, I have wait, no, I
You
didn't
shook
just touch
Michael
him.
Saylor's hand.
I shook his hand. Sailor touched me. Um, yeah, and ever since I haven't washed this stinky hand because it's got Sailor on it.
Yeah.
But he, some obviously criticism over who was invited to his party, and it was a bunch
Oh,
of douchebaggy fiat bro, crypto shitcoiner bro type folks. I can't even say all their names, but I don't
get a
even know
horse
most of
on,
them.
man.
But there's like podcasters and guys that are all into yeah, the glitz and the glamour of crypto
Oh, yeah.
bros.
Yeah.
And so,
It's a good
Dennis
hustle, man, if
Porter,
you're on the right side of it.
yeah, and I don't know what you think about Dennis Porter. I mean, I think there's not to judge him harshly, but it's grifty at times, and some of the posts is just like, okay, yeah. Anyway, some of the stuff it gives me this vibe of douchebaggery. Then again, I can't help but be jealous of not been able to go to Sailor's house.
Yeah.
So
You go in
that would
there
be
and
cool.
start, like, stealing the china.
Oh god.
Or putting some forks in your pocket. "See ya, sailor, sucker! Ah!" Raid his
Yeah.
liquor cabinet and, trash the bathroom.
Yeah, a guy who does a bunch of cool Bitcoin related art, Fractal Encrypt, I think it is.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
I've seen that guy.
yeah, he cool stuff. And anyway, yeah, he was in Sailor's I don't know what you would call that room, but place where he records podcasts. It's kind of like this library.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, like the big white room, the estate
there was
room.
another one. It's the one with this big boat, his ship in the
Oh, that
background,
one, yeah, yeah, the little, like,
wood
study.
paneling and
Yeah,
books and his ship and a big
yeah.
Bitcoin on the wall.
Maybe
So
I should
anyway,
get a ship.
Fractal, yeah, like we have,
Hop on
similar to what we have.
yeah,
Um,
close.
yeah,
Similar lifestyles all told.
I saw some random stuff where Fractal and Crypt was in there, and Sailor has his art in his gallery room, and it's cool. Anyway, so that looked cool.
Yeah. Oh, lifestyles of the rich and famous, man. I'm just down here
Yeah.
being a pleb, looking at like going out and being a lunatic out in the middle of the desert. So maybe I'll get that invite next year.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, that's the thing. There's guys there. Robin Sayer was there, and I just like we talked about it. A year ago he was just um, little podcast every day.
Yeah. Chilling in
New,
Prague. Yeah.
new, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kid, he deserves every lick of that success because it's
proof of work. Yeah,
yeah, total proof of work. I mean, that kid just works so hard. He's awesome. He's a really nice guy too, man. I mean, we hung out
yeah,
and had pizza together and just walked around Czech Republic and yeah, super cool guy. So good for him. But now I won't get to hang out with him anymore. Be like, hey, Ron, what's up? He's like, busy, busy,
yeah.
busy.
I'm
So,
too busy. I've
yeah.
got another interview with Sailor here in 10 minutes.
Well, he said if I show up in Austria, he'll do a live interview with me. So I got to get to
Awesome.
Austria somehow this year. But I'm actually thinking before Czech Republic, like I'm gonna go to Bitcoin Prague somehow or another. Hopefully, figure that out. We'll see.
Awesome.
I might be neck deep in a desert money
This
pit.
coming summer. Well, Vegas isn't too far for you, really, is it?
No, I mean that's an 8 hour drive, really. But
Okay, I mean, that's drivable, I guess.
yeah, oh yeah.
Um, Travis is going to El Salvador here next month,
Oh right, right.
um,
Yeah,
mid-February,
you're not gonna
and
go.
oh, I would like to. I don't know how I swing it. He invited me. He invited you. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just basically, hey, you guys want to come? And I had to think about it because I was like, I could almost swing that, but
yeah.
my wife's starting a new job. Our finances are going to be in a little bit of a transition. I'll be helping with kids stuff during that time, and it's like I should be responsible. So,
Yeah, for now.
I would love to go. I've just never been to there, so
Once we hit $1 million Bitcoin, then all bets are
yeah,
off.
maybe
But,
we'll be fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's it at today?
Uh,
Anyway?
what is it today?
Let's just have a see.
It was trying to be 100K again, but it's still 98K. The 98K club.
98K gang. Yeah. Well, God bless America and Bitcoin. It's pretty exciting to have a little Bitcoin party. So, what else happened at Sailor's house? I didn't see anything about it. So,
I
is there a
didn't really dig in.
Marcus
I
fest?
saw, yeah, all the random collection of videos, selfie video style, and hey, look who I'm with kind of stuff. Other than the fact that it looked like cool venue, nice food, uh, lots of important people. I didn't really see like speeches or
So it wasn't like a conference.
facilitation to it. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know what they did.
They're just hanging out getting drunk. What else?
Yeah, like you could probably just Playboy Mansion mingle for 2
Yeah.
days. So
I'll have some fun. I don't know. It's all good.
yeah.
Like, oh, that's one of the nice things about the sort of Bitcoin community, if you want to call it that, or just the Bitcoin whatever. Like Bitcoiners in general tend to be pretty chill and pretty upstanding citizens. So it's always kind of nice to be around them, regardless of the venue or the setting. Like even when we're just hanging out and doing those Bitcoin meetups, the people who show up every once in a while, they're all super cool,
Oh
super
yeah.
smart, thoughtful people, and it's like it's nice. I think if you went to like a monster truck show or something like that, you're gonna run the gamut of what kind of personalities you're gonna find. But yeah, Bitcoiners tend to be pretty solid folks, so it's always nice to be around them.
Yeah. There's something fundamental there that you can talk about all kinds of anything. And you may not even like entirely agree politically. Like I've met Bitcoiners that are more left or more right in various ways, but
Yeah,
there's something about it that connects us all that at some fundamental level, it's non-toxic.
yeah,
And if it
Bitcoin.
if it at all is, you can be done. But I don't know. It's like 99% people I've met that get it, you get along.
Yeah,
And they've got something going on for them. They're paying attention, they're smart, and they can navigate. If they're going to a conference, they can navigate something social. So,
yeah,
anyway.
exactly. For the most part, I mean, you still meet a couple of those like, guys that got their pants pulled up to their ribs and You know, they got their sweater tucked in there and their underwear sticking out, and it's just like,
The the Rainbow Road Power Law,
yeah,
monologue.
exactly. There's some guy with Birkenstocks and wild hair and just like, "Oh, I like Bitcoin." It's just like, wow, buddy. But I guess like every community gets those. I think that tends to be more of a libertarian thing than anything else.
Yeah,
I ran for office as a libertarian back in the 90s, right? And like I remember I went to the Libertarian Party like meetup or whatever it was, like for the local libertarians. Oh my god, dude! You pull up to the parking lot and you look around and you're just like, I don't know if I should go here because it's
these are
literally
my
like people that are tucking
constituents.
their shirt into their underwear and just it's yeah, it was kind of it was an experience, but so
Yeah,
that being said, like the Bitcoin community has been a lot better so far, because I know
yeah,
there's like a libertarian thread through the whole Bitcoin thing, but they're not like those sort of weird guys that are just, like, well, maybe there are, I don't know, but I haven't met any. Everyone I've met in the Bitcoin space has been pretty awesome so far. So yeah,
yeah.
it's good stuff. What'd you do for Satoshi or for Bitcoin's birthday?
Recorded a little morning practice session, Good Morning Bitcoiners thing on this live thing, and then, which is interestingly, when I do that, it's so I read this thing by Dante Cook. He'd posted it in a couple of places. I think I might have seen it on LinkedIn. I don't know why, but so Dante Cook, he'd been doing some promo media stuff for Swan and is now doing his
Yeah,
own independent thing.
yeah. I
And
haven't
he
seen
posted
anything
this,
from him either.
yeah, he posted this insightful thing about how he almost didn't start
Mm,
and that he was sort of, he was weighing what to do, the Bitcoin space, his skill set, and say, having settled into a comfy job versus striking out and just trying something.
yeah,
And it was an interesting thing about how he just almost didn't start because you can psych yourself out or you can judge yourself and like, this is dumb. I'm not very good. Oh, that was bad. Blah,
yeah,
blah, 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 blah. And he basically started it and concluded it with the point like just start.
yeah.
And so it was kind of the new year thing. And for this podcast, I was sorting out like, I know we can do this live. How do we do this live? I know like other people use Rumble Studio and
Yeah.
it wasn't working for a while in different ways, but I started to figure it out. And then I was doing some tests and I did a little test and then I deleted it. I'm like, that was easy. Like it actually was pretty good.
Yeah.
So I started in the morning. I just get up a little earlier. And for like a 5-minute deal, I might have to get up a half hour earlier, but I just have something on my mind or I write something down or I look it up real quick.
Yeah.
And then in my clumsy radio face personality capability, I just start kind of ripping on Bitcoin. But my idea about it is that I want it to be positive and like kind of a good morning, sipping my coffee, starting my day.
Yeah.
I've been doing that a few times. So I did that on Genesis Day, and then afterwards was like, I didn't even realize or acknowledge the fact that it was Genesis Day. Duh. But it made me doing that in the morning. It kind of sets the tone for something where like I feel better.
Hmm.
Like it's hard to click start stream and just start rolling. And then you're like, oh, I'm on. Oh, gee, I'm so awkward. Hi. Oh, I just had an awkward pause for 3 seconds. It's so weird. You psych yourself out being on,
Wow.
and I'm not good at that. But afterwards, even if it wasn't great, I sort of feel like I did something and it got my brain going.
Nice.
So I've been just sort of doing that in the morning. And I did that on Genesis Day. Then I went to my job, had just another stereotypically, characteristically representative bullshit sucky day. And, but despite that, I mean, there's days I could complain about my job more or less. And some days it's just like, oh, but in the background, I can be like, I already had a good morning
Oh,
and
nice.
I started it with something good.
Very
And
cool.
it was me
Yeah.
for me, mine for Bitcoiners. Thank you, Bitcoiners. Thank you, Satoshi. Positive energy into the world. And then I go to work and
And have it all sucked right back out of you.
it's, well, almost, but it's a mix of fresh and stale bullshit.
Right.
Various thicknesses vary.
Yeah.
And some days are the worst, but then back in the back of my mind, I can be like, I'm playing this role here. This does not consume me because I already set my day for me,
Yeah.
and it's good.
Right.
My job then is my job. My job is not apparently my life, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't
You're
know.
building from a foundation.
Yes.
That's good, man.
So
Life in a
Dante
Bitcoin
said
standard.
it is. Yeah. Dante said just start. I thought, well, I'm just gonna just start.
Yeah.
And then I can get to work, which I have to do. And I'm not complaining about having to have a job, but yeah, I can
Yeah.
complain.
Oh yeah.
But
Especially
it
with
has
that.
perspective. There is hope and other stuff, not just gotta go to work, gonna come home, so tired I could sleep. Oh, couldn't sleep more. Gonna wake up, gonna go to work.
Right.
Work
Yeah.
sucks. So
Yeah,
it
man. Well,
breaks me
that
out of
I
that.
mean, it's awesome. You think you'll be able to maintain it?
That's kind of my resolution is like, so you have those mornings when you think of your burpees
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, and starting is the hardest part.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the more you kind of like get ready, the harder it kind of gets, or the more you're thinking about it, the more it kind of weighs on you. And then the more you're kind of thinking of little excuses. So for me, instead of say like, well, I could maybe sleep until 6:30 or 7, it's like, nope, damn it. If I get up at 6,
Yeah.
knowing that I'm
Put more
tired
in.
anyway,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get up at 6, spend that extra 20 minutes or a half hour, just get my brain thinking about a little something positive and Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and then press click, start stream, rumble through it, and almost like a workout, like starting is the hardest part.
Yeah. For
And then when
sure.
you finish, you're like, why was that so hard?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Granted, I suck, but
Oh,
also
come on now, man.
who
Well,
cares?
here's the thing, dude, is like you were just mentioning the burpees, right? Like I'm coming up in February to be 2 years of doing burpees. And I haven't
Wow.
missed a single like I do 4 days a week, right? I do burpees. And I haven't missed a 4-day session since. I mean, I
Wow.
did burpees through COVID, I did burpees through the flu, I did burpees through everything. When I was traveling, I did burpees in Prague, I did burpees in Miami. I mean, like all of it. So the thing the thing I just told myself the other day is like you will almost always regret not doing it, but you never regret doing it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like even when it feels like it's going to be the worst possible thing you can do, it's just like I don't want to do this. I'm this. I'm that. Blah, 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 blah. It always works out great, right? But if you just succumb to it, then there's always that moment afterwards, like hey, I should have just done the stupid, like you know. And I mean, a life without regret is a great life, right? So, like
Yeah.
you said, just start, just do it, push that button. You know, I hope you
Yeah.
keep it up, man. That's pretty cool. It's a good thing to do.
Well, the biggest weird mental hurdle I have about it is that at some level I'm a nobody. Like who cares what I have to say?
You're
Everyone's saying
somebody, Fritz. You're somebody important.
it.
Come on, man.
I matter. Gosh darn it, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. The thing is, I
You're
sometimes I
enough,
wonder, it's like,
Fritz.
who wants to hear this and why
Who
from
cares,
me?
dude? Like, you know, it's for you, man.
Yeah. So it's I the way I frame it in my mind is like it's sort of like just a practice with no particular destination. It's just for me. It feels good.
Yeah,
I'm learning stuff. Maybe people find value in it. I don't know why they would, but if they actually listen and find value,
cool.
I guess
Yeah,
cool. And if they don't, well, it's more noise on the internet, so more
right.
scrolling for people. I hate to contribute to people having to scroll, uh, but anyway,
That's just
they
what
can
the
always,
algorithm does. It's built to scroll, dude. So, yeah,
yeah.
that's
So they,
why capturing
they
attention is such a big deal.
yeah, the algorithm will do its thing, I suppose, and people can unfollow me if they want. But hey, I'll make noise, and hopefully, aiming for quality. I make it something, and not just like, well, this is just more time I'm going to take up because I do it. I really have a point. I kind of have a list of ideas. Um, and yeah, it's kind of more just for me, really, and then it'll be what it is.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
there's this kid, Figueroa, Justin Figueroa, I think. Like he
uh-huh.
puts out these little videos. I mean, they're pretty slick, and he's obviously well produced, right? But I mean, like, there's all this stuff. If you go on, like, some of these, how-to kind of things, it's like talking about building value and bringing value and blah, 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 blah. And this is how you
Mm,
attract people and stuff. The thing is, the algos are getting so good now at like pushing content, like, because I've been looking at all this like home building, off grid living kind of stuff lately. And there are people on there that have like, 200 subscribers, but they'll have one video that's got like some insane amount of views. And it's just an algo thing, and it's almost funny to watch these folks because they just kind of come out just like you're doing right now. You go, oh, well, nobody cares. And, and they'll
mhm.
put out these videos, and all of a sudden one just takes off. And then you can almost see those wheels going in their head, like, okay, I got to get an agent. I got to do, I'm just like, come on, man. Just
Right.
like, you don't have to monetize every single aspect of your life. Just, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I get the idea of like wanting to escape the fiat hamster wheel and hoping for that lottery win on, social media or something like that. But God, dude, it's just like, I mean, and a lot of them turn it into a business, and then if you look at them a couple years later, like they almost look miserable, because they're just like constantly forcing themselves to like keep up with their revenue stream, and it's just like
Right.
it becomes even worse than a job because you're beholden to it constantly, and that's all you're thinking about, that's all you're doing, that's all I look at that and I go, if that's a better life, it doesn't look like it to me. And
Yeah.
so things like being a nobody is great, right? Because like I can disappear from Twitter for a month and no one gives a shit. Like there's no
Right.
like comment section going like, "Where
We
are you?
missed
Where's
you.
the next video?" Blah, like, and and you don't have to deal with any of the toxicity. You don't have to deal with the trolling. You don't have to deal with anything, right? You just kind of like you're anonymous and you just get to float around through the world. So,
Yeah.
I think there's merit on some level to like kind of sticking to that ethos. I mean, who knows? Like, I haven't had a viral video where I'm like suddenly confronted with like, oh, this might actually be a revenue thing. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say. Like, I probably end up just doing the same thing. Oh my god, I got to get an agent. I got to find some
Right.
sponsorships, and but
Yeah, I
I don't
think
know.
any if you call it success out of it, you set yourself up, at least I would set myself up for call it maybe failure, but or maybe kind of like guilt or another work hook that I feel obligated to do if I approached it in the wrong way, where it's like, oh, I'm going to be here. I'm going to do this. I feel like goal setting is good, but if my approach is fiat, like, oh, I need to, whatever, I need so many followers. I'm just going to have disappointment until I like hustle harder and my priorities, I think my incentives would be wrong.
Yeah,
And that's why I criticize generally, I mean, New Year's resolutions. I feel like people set up goals like I'm going to do this, but they don't have like a system
right.
or a reason. Like basically, they're looking at outcomes and they're not looking at the incentives.
Yeah,
And
100%. Yeah,
so for me, I think the right approach is what are my like why am I doing this? What are the incentives? Do I want to be famous? Like no, no.
right.
But that, the idea would be like, well, some of that comes like Robin Sayer. Some of that comes when you're successful because you had the right incentives, and then it fits. It's not like you're a douchebag.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so for me, it's more like the incentives, and it's like, you know what? It could continue to be like low or just on par quality what it is, but if it makes me feel better, it's like mental exercise. I'll keep doing it. If I'm like, well, I got to get to 1,000 followers. I got to get to 100,000 followers. I need to get on this podcast. I need to do this. I need to do that. It's one thing to motivate yourself and have goals. It's another thing to make the goal the thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I
yeah,
agree with you 100%, man. And what I would share from my life experience is like, more of it's about what habits you have. And if you have a habit of like Robin Sayer has the habit of working hard, right? And he has the habit of like putting his content out. And
yeah,
so for him, it doesn't become that, I think, I don't know, I can't speak for him, but it doesn't appear to me like it becomes this like burden, where he's like, oh God, I got to do a podcast today. And then he's got to like spend all that time and effort and energy to like, oh, here I go. I think that sort of feeds him, right? Like, I think
yeah,
that's like, yeah, I'm like, he feels alive when and I'm the complete opposite, man. Like, if I had that sort of like, I got to put out a podcast 5 days a week or 7 days a week, I would just be I wouldn't sustain it because I don't have
Another
that
job.
habit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I've played golf every single day for almost a month and a half now. Yeah, like something like 40 or 45 days in a row. I've just played golf. And like I'm obviously greasing a wheel there and or greasing a groove in terms of like kind of having that habit and getting out there.
Mm.
But it's never, like I don't feel like, oh God, I gotta go play golf today. Oh, I really gotta get out and hit some balls and do this and do like none of that is there, right? The incentive is totally pure. It's just like I
Yeah.
really enjoy this game. I want to figure this thing out. I want to make it work. And and I'm starting to see the benefits of that sort of thing. And then, but there's all these like kids that have these golf channels on YouTube, and I watch a ton of them because it's like some of them they'll be out playing golf with some pro like Bryson DeChambeau or something like that, and these guys are like pretty close to professional level, if not at professional level golfers.
Hmm.
But they're just out goofing around with their friends. But it's a job for them, and you can kind of see it in a way. But they're also just out playing golf, right?
Yeah.
And there was that weird sort of like social media influenced part of me that's like, oh, maybe I should document my golf journey. And then there's that other part is like, I no, just go out and play some pure golf and just enjoy the
Yeah.
ride. So I think there's the more I kind of look at it, like I think, and this will probably change in a year, but for right now, like the kind of thing I look at is to go, if the information you're putting out is like helpful to people, then it's awesome, right? And if it's
Mhm.
just there to try and enrich yourself, like fiat mind, then
Yeah.
it's less worthy,
Yeah. You'll
And
burn out.
but how you can that line can get blurred super easy, obviously, right? So
Right.
I don't know, man. We'll see, but maybe I'll
Yeah.
document my homesteading journey.
Hey, you never know. I mean, like, if you're doing it for you and you don't feel like it's necessarily a job, but you sort of enjoy like a personal journal,
Yeah, yeah,
other people may enjoy it too, if you don't
yeah.
mind sharing.
Well, I mean, like, I'm grateful to all the people that have put out all that content, 100%, because I have learned so much. I mean, like, I don't know anything about constructing a home, let alone, I mean, I'd be lucky to construct a doghouse at the moment. But, it's like, I kind of, seeing these people kind of go through the stuff and watching people, like, you learn a lot from watching a pro, right? And a lot of these people are super pro, and then there's some kind of super amateurs, and like there's sort of nice range in there. But I learn a ton from seeing what they're doing. It kind of gives me some ideas. It helps me understand like what code compliance looks like. And so, the value of that to me is inestimable. It's through the roof, right? And I mean, I might give them a little click or a subscribe or something like that. I don't know what that does for them, but I've
Mhm.
I've learned stuff from accounts that have 4 million followers, but I've learned even more stuff from accounts that have like 500 followers. So that algo is like really good at sort of picking that kind of stuff out. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I keep thinking like, if I can bring some sort of value that way to be helpful, not to enrich myself or not to become beholden to my stupid golf channel or my homesteading channel or even my Bitcoin stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, man, but I think what you're doing is great. Like because I think it's from a pure place, right? And if sets the foundation for a day, then 100% worth it all the way around. The thing is,
Yeah.
through that habit, you're going to get better. You're going to find some sort of groove. You're going to find some sort of thing that sort of slots in with what you're doing. And whether you end up with 500 followers or 5 million out of as a result, it kind of, you know,
Yeah. We'll see. And
yeah,
I mean, if I just do it for a lot, who knows, a long time, and my follower count is nothing. I mean, I've learned something in the process.
yeah. Well, we're
And
doing this
also,
right now as a result, right?
well, yeah,
100%.
we've been doing this, and I mean, we've steadily gained followers, but it's not like,
Have
gee,
we?
after so many months. Well,
Do
I
we
mean,
have followers?
yeah, 2 a month.
Really? Dude, we're
Well,
blowing up.
it
We're
has gone up.
huge. We need to find a
I'll have to check.
sponsorship.
Yeah, really. Hey, you want to sponsor us? We got 171 followers.
Yeah,
Um,
somebody call Satoshi.
yeah. So just doing it for me, what I've noticed too, just in my,
Hey, we're live, dude. Did you know that? This is
yeah, you can
episode
see us.
37. That's
What's
crazy,
that?
man.
Yeah.
Oh god, I
Uh,
gotta mute myself. I'm gonna give myself feedback here. I'm delayed, dude. That's really
It's
yeah,
a little delayed.
171 subscribers, dude. We're huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, we'll see. Now, one thing I noticed too, now whether it's the algorithm or whatever, I could like I don't have that many followers on X either, which I don't try to curate too much other than just, I mean, follow for follow sometimes. But I don't have a huge following, but I could like put up a cool meme or type stuff out or whatever, and like the engagements, like nobody cares, or
Yeah,
random, very random.
yeah.
Um, it's probably, oh hey, somebody commented Gromers. The guy in the hat sucks. Oh, yeah, really? Now we have trolls in our feed.
That
I
was
can't
me,
believe this. See,
dude.
it's these kinds of people.
That was me.
I know. Thank you, Gromers. So, when I do a live thing, my visibility goes way up.
Oh,
Like
for real?
I could read a tweet, and I could read a post live, and like my engagement is way higher, whether it's pushed or people see a video and look at it more. I don't know, but
Yeah.
my engagement's gone up, and then suddenly, Justin, bless his heart, he said, "Hey, here's a guy doing stuff. Check him out." And then
Oh,
I
yeah.
got like 30 followers that day. People are like, "Oh, hey, cool," or just, "I don't know who this person is, but I'm going to follow you."
Yeah.
Um, anyway, a lot more engagement just randomly, so that's validating. I've also noticed when I do this thing, kind of like doing exercise, practicing, as you can tell, I'm so full of word salad sometimes where
Oh,
my
you're not that come on,
personality,
dude.
well, so
You
my
gotta flip that
personality,
little narrative in your head, bro.
that's the thing. My maybe it's my personal narrative. My personality psych test type stuff I've done is kind of like big picture, lots of idea thinking, open-minded, creative, and interested in technology.
Yeah.
But is comfortable talking about ideas. And some people want concise, like so, like as a manager, I'll supervise people, and I'll talk all about the big picture and why we're doing this, trying to make it make sense.
Yeah.
And some people, they'll look at me like,
Dude, get to
"So
the
what do you
point.
want me to do? Like,
Yeah.
give me the list, because
Yeah.
that's my job."
Right.
So some people, they tune in and they're like, "What are you saying? Like, get to the point. Like, why are you doing this?" And they want more
That's
of a,
probably this whole show.
maybe, yeah, this whole show, they tune in like, what is the agenda? Um,
Yeah.
well, I don't really have one. What I've noticed for the shorts is that I do approach it with, okay, today, all I'm going to talk about is this one thing, like the Genesis block, or, oh, I read this thing that randomly yesterday about Aristotle and ideas around a virtuous life versus hedonism. Simple idea. But then I get to talking about it, and I start to meander into word salad. Now, it's one thing to have good, interesting, entertaining, busy word salad. It's
Yeah.
another thing for me to stop and think as I'm sipping my coffee, going, um, what was I thinking about? God, this is stupid. I'm getting better though. So anyway,
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't sweat that stuff too much. The best advice I can give from my days is in the acting world is like just be as honest to yourself as you can. So it's obviously you don't want to just be sitting there just like, man, I'm really tired today. Like no one gives a shit, right? But
yeah,
like you're bring your best self, I guess, is kind of the way. But
yeah,
yeah, man, this is it's kind of fun. I don't know. It's like streaming live and like Twitter makes it pretty easy to go live. I see a lot of people. There's this guy, Financial Physics. I used to watch a lot of his videos, but he's just like kind of sitting there just nattering into his phone, and
mm,
he's sort of an ANCAP kind of like, like put all the illegals in a trebuchet and launch them over the border kind of thing. I mean, he's pretty funny.
final
Like,
solution.
yeah, I get a kick out of some of his stuff. Um, but it's like I don't know what makes any of this stuff tick, and I kind of don't care. Like, it's just kind of do your own thing, and it's a great big world nowadays. So I don't know,
Yeah,
man. Just kind of keep focused on the Bitcoin stuff and kind of rock and roll. But I think the little daily show is pretty cool. I hope you can keep it up. If you can commit to that, I think it'll be
yeah.
something healthy. Get you away from the fiat standard faster, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, even as it takes a little more time and energy of me, as I get better at it, it's really not much.
Yeah.
It gets me up in the morning and it starts my day positively. Plus, my my goal, my approach really is, I can easily complain like, "Oh, did you see the news this morning? Oh, let's see what happened yesterday." Ah. No, no. I want to be like, "Good morning, Bitcoiners. It's going
Yeah.
to be a good day.
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
just waking up, but thank you." So gratitude, universal relationship through gratitude. Start your day right. Could we all complain? Of course. But I get enough of that. And
Yeah.
so
For sure.
anyway, I'm trying to
Well,
make
hey
it
man, if
good.
you want an interesting read, like I went to a screenwriting seminar about 100 years ago, and there's this guy that was selling a book. His name is Stephen Pressfield, and I actually emailed him after I read the book because I was like, dude, this book was awesome. It's called The War of Art, and it was
I think
cool
I've heard of
because I
that.
sent him an email. I just said thank you, and he replied. He's like, short and sweet, love it. You know, you're welcome. But that book, it because he was I can't remember if he was a screenwriter or not, but the thing he talks about is mostly just overcoming like those objections, you know,
Hmm.
and like the kind of mindset you get into. But part of it is like, and this was from a different, I think it was Ingmar Bergman who was talking about like, because he would get up every day, write 4 hours, and then the rest of his day was his, right? But the thing was, is like set up your workspace so there is nothing that can get in the way of you doing your thing, right? Like if you have to go plug something in and move a thing around, like all that stuff is like resistance
Right.
to progress, you know? So if you can just have it so it's just like bing, go, it makes it a lot easier to maintain that sort of like
Yeah.
whatever it is you're.
Streamline your system.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so I try and do that with my entire life because otherwise I just won't do anything, you know. So like my keys are always in the same spot, my this is always in the same spot. I always have it all just like ding 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 so I can kind of like assembly line my life. But yeah, man, it's it'll be cool to see how this develops.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'll just keep chipping away at it and, people can feel free to ignore it and that's okay. I don't
Yeah, for
my
sure.
approach, my incentives are aligned well, I think. Lower time preference and just good for me. So,
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
and keeping it interesting, not just talking about myself. Oh yeah, there's another thing too. I was like, so it's like if I'm going to talk about stuff, which I feel like I can talk, sure, but if it's not going to be boring, what is my shtick? Like, what is my why? What are you saying? Like, because I have lots of ideas, but do they connect in some way? Um,
Well, if it's Bitcoin talk, it's pretty easy. Like Bitcoin
so
good,
yeah,
fiat bad, right? Like that's all you got to do is repeat Bitcoin good, fiat bad, ad
yeah,
nauseam. Just find different ways of saying Bitcoin good, fiat bad.
yeah. There is that. So Bitcoin is still, there's so much to it. Enough. There's always you could talk about it, and people are going to be like, oh, that's different or interesting. Maybe it's not like I like ice cream. I still like ice cream.
Yeah,
Let's talk about ice cream, and people are like,
yeah,
Bitcoin's got its thing. I feel like I'm not technical enough really to dive into all the technical stuff. I can cover that at a higher level. I'm not genius enough to know all the history or the economics or the psychology or the everything for me. It's like a generalist jack of all philosophies is really my thing. So I love it all.
yeah,
But I can only do so much of a deep dive in any one of it. When I see some of the other podcasters and they do these like random quick deep dives, or they're in a conversation with somebody mentions something, and they can literally like quote Carl Menger, and I'm just like, I'm not that smart, I guess. Oh, it's okay. But what can I do? Well, I can present a personality, like an energy, and if there's enough kind of grinding work about it that people experience. And all they need is a little short, sweet dose of good morning. It's going
positivity.
to be a good day.
Yeah,
And here's a little something I learned about from history or a philosophy or about Bitcoin or hey, it's Genesis Day. And it's 5 minutes of positive. That maybe that's all I got. So, and that's
hey,
good enough.
dude, it's better
Yeah.
than nothing.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, like I'm eternally grateful to people that are putting out content. Like what I'm finding a lot of these like home builders. Like I watch a lot of like guys that are shooting videos and stuff like that, and then talking about different calibers and blah blah blah. And I watch a lot of those like homesteading construction type videos. I don't watch too much Bitcoin content anymore. Like after I went through that sort of like deep transition from being a shitcoiner to being a Bitcoiner was like watching the Bitcoin content now gets a little bit just like yeah, I know Bitcoin good, fiat bad. I got But
Uh-huh.
the thing I notice about a lot of like the sort of, if you want to call them amateur broadcasters, I guess, is like they'll go on these big rambly kind of things for like the first 10 minutes. I'm just like, get to the fucking part I want, man. Like,
Yeah.
show me how to put the deck screw in, And
Well,
so I
Sachs
find
was
myself
like that.
skipping around a lot, but it's all such a new sort of space and a new sort of world, and like how people are going to carve out their space in the under the Bitcoin standard that's coming, I think is going to be pretty interesting to watch, right? Because it's the more and more Bitcoin wins and takes over the fiat system and sort of relegates it to the dustbin it belongs in, the way people interact and have to engage with the community and their fellow human beings and society and social media and all of it's all going to change. It's all going to shift, right?
Yeah.
And what that looks like, I hope is going to be pretty remarkable. But we're all sort of on the cutting edge of what that new world looks like, right? Like you're seeing it all over the place. And I don't know if you Ben Justman, like the guy that started the winery,
Yeah.
and then there's the 100 Acres Ranch guy who's out just
Yep.
like with his crazy solar powered Bitcoin mining. God knows what he's doing out there.
I know.
But I mean, there's all these like really neat personalities out there doing really neat stuff, but they're contributing in a way that I think is different than they would have thought of or conceived of under the
Yeah.
fiat standard. And all those folks are on a Bitcoin standard now, and they're all, but it just changes how you approach life and how you do stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're all kind of in the middle of figuring out what that looks like right now, and we're going to be the progenitors of what is to come, I think. And
Yeah.
so, it's hopefully
Sometimes,
we'll provide some sort of roadmap for the next generation that comes along, and it makes us even cooler and better and more fun and more interesting than we'll ever conceive of. So yeah, it's good stuff.
yeah, I hope so. Sometimes I wonder if, the Zs or the millennials will look at the Gen Xers and be like, "Oh, those stodgy old, like, whatever."
Sooner
I
or later,
feel like
I mean,
we're not
that's
doing
the path, right?
yeah, typical, but, we're not doing too bad. I feel like everything is, like, careening towards improved quality and better awareness and fixing everything everywhere you
Yeah,
see it. It's even if you'd say, "Well, there's a problem. Well, there's another problem. Well, there's another problem." The thing is, people are now seeing it and also reconciling it maybe at more of a first principles basis of what is it. And so at every level, yes, there's problems in the world, but people are seeing it and kind of coming to terms with what are we doing? How do we fix this? And you see things getting fixed. I almost feel like
excuse me.
whether not to say, oh, it's the government or it's this or that. I feel like there are powers in the world, the media, the legacy media is a lot of it, but they're still trying to hold us. I see it more and more nowadays. They're reminding us of the fear. It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Oh
you
yeah.
like this stuff? Well, here's some reasons why that's bad.
Right.
Or, well, but did you hear there's somebody really horrible that did a horrible thing? And then
Right.
everybody's like, oh, I'm afraid to like ever go trick or treating. It's just like, fuck you. So,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I
basically,
took that break from Twitter, man, is because like there's so many Twitter accounts now that are just, there's a reason why the legacy media does that, just like there's a reason why like Twitter does that, is because that engages people, right?
it
Like
sells.
it's outrage and fear, dude. Like those are
Yeah.
the big money makers, right? Those are the big engagement drivers. So that's what people drift to. Even if you start off positive, like that's my fear for you, Fritz, is like a year from now, you're gonna be like, this is the doom of everything and the world's gonna because
Yeah.
that'll get the engagement algorithm going, so
Yeah. I've committed to not do that on my, when I go to the universal for you feed after a little bit, I see so many fights or so
oh yeah,
many burglaries or
yeah. You get
crime.
shot
This
in the
is like,
head,
hey, here's a
crime, and yeah.
here's a train wreck, here's a crime, here's an innocent person getting hurt, here's
Yeah.
somebody that really needs to get hurt getting hurt.
Yeah.
And I'll feel this like, yeah, like
Ugh.
it gets me. And it's like, no wonder that works. But then what I'll see too is that, like, I think things are just getting better and better and better in a lot of ways. And call it the, some certain people in charge or managers of our reality push and sell like, oh, but never forget, you need to be told what to think first, and also be afraid, and oh, it's a chaotic, scary place. We need more regulation, we need more control, we need bigger
Yeah,
government, we need, whatever. So
exactly.
that's what I see.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just recognizing it all over the place a lot more now, and I think more and more people are. I think nothing stops this train, and I think that's why some of it looks more and more desperate. Like, well, it's New Year's, let's get a couple bombings.
Right. Oh,
Like,
yeah, dude.
predictable.
Well, they'll amp up any goddamn trivial thing in the world, and that's like I met some lady at the store, and she was like talking about bird flu and eggs, and she can't buy eggs, and
Oh, did you
ISIS
hear
and all
monkeypox? Monkeypox?
yeah, like, but just I mean, this lady was terrified to walk out the front door, and I'm just like, Christ, can you look around? Like, just open your eyes and look and go, what's happening right around me right now? Nothing. Everything's
Yeah.
just fine. There's nothing wrong here. So, yeah, there's, but it was like I lived through the earthquake in Los Angeles. Lived through. I mean, I was the '94 earthquake, the Northridge quake, and I remember if you had gone on the news and looked, I did, right? And it was like people lining up to get water and the shelves were empty and like it was just like mass destruction and chaos and collapsing infrastructure and this and that and the other thing. I walked out my front door and I was like, um, and then I drove down the street and got stuff at the store. Like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And my friend lived in Northridge at the time, and he said it was the weirdest thing in the world because he drove down the street and there was a line around the block to get into the Ralphs or whatever, and people just standing there like a bunch of freaking baboons. And then he said if you drove just 2 miles further south, there was a like an Albertsons. You could just walk in and buy stuff. Like these people were so sheepled into like the tragedy, like they could not see everything around them. Like they were
Yeah.
so hyper focused on like I got to stand in line to get some water and a loaf of bread and some butter. But
Yeah. Everyone else is
the
doing
rest
it.
of the
Yeah.
city was just fine. Like a
Hmm.
bridge collapsed in Santa Clarita, another piece of the 10 freeway collapsed. So stuff did break. People suffered loss, people died, et cetera, et cetera. So not to minimize the suffering that actually occurred.
Sure.
And in the grand scheme, you go like, how many people died in that thing? Out of the 14 million population in Los Angeles, like 50 people died. And you go,
Hmm.
terrible. It's terrible for the people who got squished or whatever.
Hmm.
And, they learned some valuable lessons, but it was not like calamity, like 14 million people were at risk. It was like a
Yeah.
few hundred people were at risk. So, but again, if you just looked at the media, dude, it was like, I mean, I had people calling me like, "Oh my god, are you this? Are you that?" Or just terrified for my safety. And I'm like,
Yeah.
everything's fine. Like the worst thing that happened to me was like I went and opened the cabinets. That's not a good idea after an earthquake, just FYI. But like literally
Oh,
everything was being held in by the cabinet doors, so it was just sort of like, "Oop,
right.
oh, oh, probably shouldn't have done that. But that was
Hmm.
it. So, yeah, I mean, it's always been that way. It's just I think you're right, though. I think there is like a magnification of it because they're losing eyeballs because people are just tuning out on this shit. So I think as the Bitcoin world starts taking over, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to get eyeballs from outrage and fear because there's going to be too much positivity in the world for people to want to latch onto it. They're just going to go, why do I want to sit here and watch this guy try and scare me about all this horrible shit in the world when life's pretty good generally speaking and getting better. So,
Yeah. The
it's going to
things I
ruin an
take
industry.
Yeah, we're entering a golden age, and the legacy controllers are holding on for dear life to like not let go and remind us that we should be scared and that the world's dangerous.
Yeah.
And
Hey, we got
then
a comment
like,
here. What do you guys think about miners? I love miners. I am a miner. Miners are the best. Bitcoin mining is I think everybody that owns Bitcoin should be a miner. Fritz is now mining. It's the
yeah. So
security
if
of
you
the
can
network
see,
is
I don't know if you
dependent
can
on
see it.
independent miners.
Right up here, I've got 3 little solo Satoshis running
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
um, Now, do I expect to win a block? No, but I'm contributing to the network. I'm connected to Ocean right now just to be part of that. And I'm still learning about it.
Ooh, pool miner.
Yeah, I know pool, but I mean, for what it's worth, I've bounced it around a little bit to try it out. For me, what I like about solo mining, which I think we need more, Katie, we need more solo miners. So it's a learning process. I learned a lot about it. At a larger level, when I look at business and corporations where like it's a business model and they have a bottom line and they're looking for, basically it's like, okay, you get into things about where are they getting their energy? Where are they located? What are the regulations? What's their incentives? Who owns them? Are they so big that it's another foundry or an ant miner and there's a non-distributed nature of it all? There are risks to that. There's things I don't love about it, but also, uh, if nothing else, let's get more countries all over the world with bigger miners and distribute it because it's going to be large. Is it worth it? I think it's worth the education. It's not necessarily financially
It is
worth
not
anything unless
financially
you kind
rewarding.
of get into um, uh, how many how many hash rates do you need really? You'd have to have
You
a
need
lot of
a
upfront
It's
investment.
about
If
$50,000 worth of stuff to get to a place where you're gonna routinely make money mining Bitcoin. So,
Right.
from a financial standpoint, it's not really worth it. If you have access to, like, free electricity, it helps. What what I'm doing is what they call, oh, it's just mining to contribute to the network and to add distributed hash power to the network, but it's not there for financial gain as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kinda like playing the lottery every day or every 10 minutes, you get a lottery opportunity to potentially get a block. Super rare. I mean, it's like a 1 in 500,000 chance or 1 in a million chance every 10 minutes. So, the likelihood of it ever happening is close to 0. But,
Right.
for me, it's more about, like, a philosophical kinda thing. It's about encouraging people to distribute the hash power. It's about encouraging people to distribute mining hash, and that's one of the big vulnerabilities of the Bitcoin network is concentration of mining resources. So everybody I can talk to and convince into going out and getting like a little bit axe or a future bit or something like that,
Mhm.
and just contributing some hash to your own node. You're helping to fortify the network in a way that is probably unlikely to get a lot of people on board with that. But the more and more people we can get that to do, the safer the network becomes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's sort of a rough calculation, 50 grand. Like, if you wanted to get something where you're gonna routinely hit a block, like, on a reliable basis, like, every 3 months, 6 months, something like that, you're probably looking at about 50 grand worth of,
I
just the
did a little
you know?
Yeah, I did some numbers just on my own like a little bit ago. And it's kind of like I found some decent rigs that you're like, okay, you got to spend about 10,000. And yeah, depending on the cost of your electricity where you're at. But for $10,000, you might accrue in fiat terms like $500 a month. So it was like you're not really earning it back.
Well, I mean, if you're mining to a pool, maybe, right?
Depending on to a pool, to a pool. Now
Yeah,
the idea might be now if you point to your own address and now it's a slight chance, but you might win a block in a year or two.
yeah.
Hey, win the
The
lottery.
the better way to go with Bitcoin is just squirrel away a little bit, buy $100 a month,
Yeah.
500 bucks a month, $50 a month. It doesn't matter. Whatever Bitcoin you're buying today, 10 years from now, you'll be happy that you did it. I mean, if the goal is to kind of get into Bitcoin and be part of the sort of revolution as it's unfolding right now, the best way to do it is buy and hold and just kind of sock it away and learn about self custody and all that sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big, deep, long rabbit hole. And it's kind of nightmarish to get through in the beginning,
Get off
but
zero,
yeah, but get off
get
zero,
over the
have
shitcoin
some,
stuff,
and yeah,
Bitcoin only. and get off zero. And then, hey, run a node. Try that out. Run a node. And
Well,
then,
like FutureBit is actually really great for that. It's FutureBit. FutureBit. I think it's .io or something. I can't remember the rest of the address. But FutureBit creates these little self-contained miners. They're about $1,000, and they have their own node built in. It's literally a plug and play kind of thing. They're super nice guys. They're super helpful. And it's some company out of New York. They're all manufactured in the United States. But you can get into mining, running a node, and holding Bitcoin on your own wallet in, you know, for the cost of $1,000, you can be far more advanced in the Bitcoin space than most people that hold Bitcoin.
mhm.
They're kind of a neat company. BitAxe is sort of similar. They don't have the built-in node thing, but you can run a miner through them. Figuring out a node can be a little tricky on your own, but oh, I don't know if
Bitcoin
you think the U.S.
Strategic
is going to pull the
Reserve.
trigger on Bitcoin on that reserve, Fritz?
I don't know what to believe. I feel like there's a lot of good potential there. I think there's a good chance. I also know that, and I've heard good things about the new crypto czar guy. Can't remember his name now, but it's crypto. So I'm not sure how distracted they'll get or how kind of corruptible it could get. I don't feel really optimistic about it at times. I also allow the universe of Bitcoin to surprise me and not worry about it. So when the good news happens, Bitcoin grows in every aspect that it is allowed to grow, and then it cannot be stopped. And so you can't hurt it. You could buy it and then you could sell it, but all it does is lead to more awareness, more adoption. Anything that happens in this space, even if it's kind of like, man, well, people are thinking about it. And
Yeah.
globally, Bitcoin will simply grow. So you can't stop it.
Well, whether or not they sort of adopt a strategic reserve, I think it would be smart for the United States to do that. And yet, politics plays a bigger role in kind of things and control of the money supply. And I mean, our
Mm,
entire society is structured around fiat money and fiat systems and things like that. And so there's a lot of incentives aligned against adopting a strategic reserve. Um, but it's possible. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Like if you would have asked me 5 years ago, would the president of the United States be talking about Bitcoin? I would have laughed at you. If you would have talked to me 3 years ago and said, "Hey, do you think Larry Fink of BlackRock fame would be up on CNBC shilling Bitcoin, sounding like a Bitcoiner?" I would say, "Absolutely not. That guy is never going to happen." But yet, all those things
yeah.
have already come to pass. So, Bitcoin always surprises you. Bitcoin, I think, is an inevitability. So, people are going to adopt Bitcoin one way or the other, whether they realize it now or not. But I would have said the same thing about the internet in 1996. I go, people are going to adopt the internet whether they like it or not. And people have the same FUD, the same, little arguments against whether or not the internet is revolutionary or big deal, or if it's just a faster way to send a fax. I think history has sort of proven out that like the internet is sort of indispensable. And I think Bitcoin's going to go on the same path.
Yeah. It's like a one-way track, and you're so early. I mentioned this so many times, but it's like, gee, I'm just coming to Bitcoin, or I'm not a young smart kid anymore. It's been around for 16 years. We are so early,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's not even started. I
Yeah.
mean, the very fact that a year ago we're talking about, oh, geez, ETFs, gee, that's wow. A year later, a national strategic reserve in the biggest economy in the world. My God, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what you say here. Yeah, I appreciate it. I have a hard time, like a lot of people, because the only thing behind it is hair. Yeah,
Intrinsic
I
value.
get
So
why it
you,
seems that way. I really do. Like, and I would have said the same thing probably 15
yep,
years ago, 10 years ago. And the thing is as I've kind of gotten deeper into this sort of rabbit hole, like I've now written a book about it, and you know, the the thing that's driving that network is a pretty massive financial incentive for the miners and things like that. But globally, I think what's driving it is the sort of follies of the central banks, and you see where those kind of things lead. And so the thing that's backing that network is a tremendous amount of hardware and electricity, and it's like
yep,
as Michael Saylor would say, it's a great big wall of energy, like sort of supporting that network. So I get like from sort of a fiat standpoint, it looks like it's just vapor, and yet when you kind of dig a little bit deeper, you start seeing that, hey, there's a lot to this, and it's a lot bigger than people think. But it's kind of the same.
Yep.
You could almost say the same thing about the internet. You go, oh, there's nothing there, but electrons moving over
Yeah.
wires. But
The
the
internet is
infrastructure
just
that
vapor.
supports it is huge.
The internet is nothing but vapor. The internet's not backed by anything, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't even question the idea of, well, gosh, were you late to the internet? No one was late to the internet. You just got on it.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
or like, what's the dollar backed by? Well, a lot of debt growing
A
debt.
lot.
What's Yeah,
That dollar is backed by
an
a
anchor
massive
sinking to the
military
bottom of the
force.
ocean is what the dollar is backed by. What's the intrinsic value of gold? What's gold backed by? Um, well, properties of money, I guess. Uh, Bitcoin has properties of money. Gold has intrinsic value if you use it as a doorstop. That's your
Oh,
intrinsic
Fritz.
value of gold.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
intrinsic value.
yeah, Katie. Well, Michael Saylor is he's sort of a contentious personality in Bitcoin right now, but he's also like I think the world's largest holder of Bitcoin on some level. So yeah, he's definitely someone. If you really kind of want to take a long trip down the rabbit hole, and this is sort of the thing that got me over the hump, is I went and looked at Robert Breedlove talking to Michael Saylor, and I watched all 10 episodes of it. It was like 20 hours of content. By the end of that, I'd sort of changed my mind, and it answered a lot of my sort of fear and doubt kind of things. I think it's a great starting point if you're kind of interested in the space or interested in learning about Bitcoin. Um, but the thing is if the more you look around and the more you kind of get around Bitcoin and Bitcoiners, you'll start to see, I think, that there's a lot of really conscientious, thoughtful, and smart people that are 100% devoted to Bitcoin. Like my entire life savings, net worth, everything is incorporated in Bitcoin. Like, I'm not buying stocks, I'm not buying real estate to speculate on, things like that. And it's for a reason. And someone could make the argument that maybe I'm just a buffoon, but I don't think so. And I don't think a lot of the people I've met are buffoons. And it's the thing at the end of the day, whether you believe the experiment or not, it represents a lot of hope for humanity because it's the
Mhm.
first time in human history where we've had access to and a property right that no one can take from you, and that's very different than the last 5,000 years of humanity, where some big strong person can come bonk you on the head and steal your stuff. No one can come and steal your Bitcoin, and that's that's such a fundamental shift in humanity. I think it's going to lead us to a really beautiful world and beautiful space.
Yeah. Hope.com.
Yeah, Sailor is Saylor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He runs hope.com. Bitcoin is hope.
yeah,
Um, Mark Andreessen. So he's Mark Andreessen, the A16Z guy, and all
yeah.
that Netscape.
Shit coiner
He's a
extraordinaire.
shitcoiner. I enjoy listening to him because he's a machine gun
Yeah,
rattle of information, and he's pretty smart. pretty kind of smart. Pretty smart.
cunning.
Yeah, he's been on a lot of podcasts lately. He brought up an interesting thing about to make a quick parallel to people's incentives and fear mongering. He said, imagine if nobody had ever really thought about the concept of driving or having cars until like now, today's society. Somebody invents a car. Say Tesla now invents the first car ever. It's our, Ford Model T Tesla. And think about the FUD, the fear that would be like, you're going to put yourself in a metal box and protect yourself with a rope around your waist. And if you hit something, maybe a big explosion balloon is going to hit your face. Like too scary, too dangerous. Nobody should do this. And yet, now imagine the regulation all over everything. Now, not that we don't have regulation now, of course, but it'd be like impossible to start a car company nowadays. Whereas because we got lucky enough to have car companies start like whatever 100 years ago, culturally, we just got used to the idea that like, yeah, you can just drive safe. But if it was like, 100,000, 200,000 people a year die driving these things, and do you know who's driving out there and who tests to who's allowed to drive? Anybody. It would get shut down. But
Maybe.
but if we can tolerate people driving, to hear stuff about like, there could be avian pox on your eggs, it's kind of like, okay, Yeah. Well, and I'm also going to drive home and I could die too, so.
Yeah. Well, Katie, I don't think what you ask is certainly not a dumb question. The it takes a little bit to answer it though. Is the problem with everything related to Bitcoin is like there are no simple sort of canned answers that you can go, oh, it's this or it's that, right? And if you look at Bitcoin like money, like currency, right, where you go, okay, well, I've saved up some money in the bank, and now I'm going to spend some of the money in the bank to go buy a soda pop or whatever. Um, the thing that many or some don't understand about fiat currency, at least the way it's used right now, is that the bank is continually making more and more and more of it, right? So your ability to buy things with it is being debased every day. And there's a reason why people invest in like stock market or houses or real estate. And if you listen to any financial advisor over the last 40 years, they'd say, hey, you need to go buy a house and get a 401k going. What's happening there is the value of those things, the fiat denominated value of those things is expanding because of the money supply. Like the increase in the value of the stock market, the increase in the value of homes is tracking almost exactly the amount of extra fiat money that they're pouring into the system. So people that are asset holders for that, um, they benefit, or they at least keep up with the amount of debasement. People that don't hold assets, they get wrecked, and that's why you see the squeeze on the middle class and more people struggling, more and more people struggling to buy their groceries and things like that. But if you look around at the boomers and stuff that all own property, they're doing fine. Like they're not worried about paying their bills next month. But the wage earners really get hurt by that. And so what Bitcoin does is it enables you to fractionally buy into property that also appreciates at the same or faster rate than the fiat debasement. And that's what makes Bitcoin sort of a remarkable thing. It's not so much about like how can I spend it later any more than it would be like how can I spend my house later, What theoretically we're trying to do with Bitcoin as property, if you view it as property, is you're protecting yourself from that monetary debasement. So yes, at some point in the future, you could trade that for fiat and then go buy things with it. But it'd be the same thing as like, yes, some point in the future, you can sell your 401k and use that money to buy things with it. Or at some point in the future, you could sell your house, like if your kids move away or something like that, and then you can downsize, then you could use that excess money to buy things and live your life, et cetera, et cetera. But it's more about protecting the wealth that you have. So, which is why I'm like 100% into Bitcoin. Like every fiat dollar I get coming in, I put that into Bitcoin, or at least the excess, after I pay for food and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The idea there is like, as they continue to base the currency, the Bitcoin asset keeps appreciating in value. And there will be at some point in my life, there's a lot of people say never, ever, ever sell your Bitcoin and things like that. But it's kind of the same thing as like never, ever sell your house. Like you would never sell your house to buy a cup of coffee, right? And you would never sell like your 401k so you could go buy a car. I mean, some people do, but it's not the best investing strategy. So that's sort of like what my take on it is. And again, I know it sounds like a lot, I'm sure, and I almost hate talking about it that way, just because people can kind of get like, well, this is too much, But that's sort of the nutshell version, as best I can sort of. I mean, maybe Fritz has some
Yeah.
better.
There's
way.
so much to say. I
Yeah,
know.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
funny. I'm not used to, this kind of interaction is cool on a live podcast. We're so used to jaw jacking just at each other and like knowing what we know. So
Yeah,
it's different. Um, anyway, wow, what a rabbit hole to get into.
yeah,
You It's a long, fun, life-changing journey, and step by step, hey, if you tune into us, we can always talk about more.
yeah,
I think in the future, so I don't see fiat really going away completely, or maybe ever. There'll be always layers that people use for mediums of stuff, and governments are going to be around. They're going to use a kind of money, and they're going to have a version of that they control and whatever. Although I can see if you're sitting on a Bitcoin or like other hard assets that exist in the world, you might use those that without losing them, you might leverage them in ways that without taking on much risk, you can use fiat or use things in fiat without having to like you said, well, I need to have a certain kind of a lifestyle. So I'm going to I got to sell part of my house. No, no, you keep your house, but you might take out a home equity loan. Um, I don't know, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, that's certainly a potentiality in the future. Like right now, you can leverage your house. Like you can, get like a HELOC or something on your real estate, and you could use that to live off of. Um, and as you just noted here, you guys own real estate already, so it sounds like you're probably already really familiar with what the purpose of investing um, in real estate, right? Like, I'm sure you didn't invest in it just to like lose money on it, And so
Good
part of the
investment.
investment in real estate is you get rents, you get, an income stream from renting out that property if it's a rental, or you get the benefit of using it if you live in it. But there's also asset appreciation, like if you look around, if you bought a house in 1990 and then you wanted to sell it today, it's worth 10 times what it was when you bought it in 1990. And that's one of the reasons why the boomers are doing so well, and the kind of top half of Gen X are doing really well, because we all got property early and it appreciated massively in terms of fiat dollars. But yeah, in terms of like getting into Bitcoin, when you get Bitcoin through Fidelity, that's going to be an ETF. Fidelity is actually one of the better outfits out there, I think, because they self custody their own Bitcoin. They're not using a third party custodian, as far as I know. But yeah, it's a great way to, it's a great sort of low friction way to get exposure to it, especially if you're in the fiat world, because you can just sort of treat it like a brokerage account. It's pretty easy, low barrier entry to get into it. You don't have to worry about custody issues and things like that. And there's customer service. There are little fees associated with it and things like that. But in general, if you already have like decent real estate holdings, if you already invested in the stock market, having like a little 1%, 5% allocation, something like that, what I would what I would bet on right now is that 10 years from now, when you go to rebalance your portfolio, you're going to look at that Bitcoin. You're going to go, wow, this is 90% of my portfolio. And it's going to, and it's
What
just
just
from,
happened?
yeah,
I didn't do anything.
yeah. So Fidelity is great. Especially if you don't want to go down the entire rabbit hole of figuring out self custody and where to buy it, and, how to hold it and what keys are. And because it's a lot. And not that you couldn't do it. I mean, everyone can figure this stuff out. It's just how much time are you willing to devote to it.
Yeah.
But I think Fidelity is a great choice, and getting into the ETF is yeah, Coinbase is one. I don't personally recommend Coinbase. I think they're going to be solvent, and I think they're fine. But generally speaking, when I buy Bitcoin, if I'm going to buy actual on-chain Bitcoin, I'll use something like Swan. Swan Bitcoin is a pretty good option. River Bitcoin is an excellent one. Unchained, if you're a little higher net worth, they're an outstanding outfit to work with. Um,
Strike.
yeah,
Well,
Strike is kind of a
can be
middle
smaller.
middle ground there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Swan, River, and Unchained are all great outfits, and they can help you. They can kind of handhold you through a lot of that process, whether you want to go the self custody route, or whether you want to turn it into a 401k, or turn it into a IRA or something like that. Like they have all those sort of traditional fiat finance rails that they can integrate your holdings with. So they're really good options. Coinbase is a little less so, and if you have an issue with them, you're never going to get them on the phone, and they're kind of a nightmare to mess with. But if you want the easy route, Fidelity is a no-brainer. You just hop on that ETF and you'll get exposure to the Bitcoin price appreciation, but you won't get a lot of the other benefits of like actually owning that property. If you get into Swan River, things like that, it'd be kind of like the difference between buying a REIT, like a real estate investment trust, and buying actual real estate. That's the sort of closest analogy I could give you right now. Fidelity is going to give you access to the investment trust. Swan River is going to give you access to the actual real estate asset. Oh, you're awesome, Katie. Thank you. I really appreciate the interaction. This is really
Yeah,
a
this
lot of
is
fun.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you know real estate like you surely do, you're just used to a sort of an inherent aspect of the business, which is a lot of like what you'd call like counterparty risk. It can be, what jurisdiction is it in? What's the land quality? Are there, you got property tax. If you have renters, dealing with renters, imagine that. There's a fire, acts of God, a flood, locusts. It's,
Termites.
also say nothing happens, but you make decisions about change. You can't just up and sell it. You can't move it. Say you wanted all the qualities of this thing, but just, not in France, you'd like it in Texas. Um, Bitcoin is that kind of hard asset that has all the qualities of a good hard asset and can function as a money, but you don't have all the counterparty risks or regulations or people that rent it, or you get to decide how you use it.
Right.
So land inherently has always been a really great investment. There's reasons to hold land, but I think people often saw it as like, well, it's the one only best place to go, unless maybe I don't know what, gold or something. It has a lot of latent kind of liabilities to it. Um,
Yeah.
so Bitcoin doesn't. If you
Yeah.
if you now if you buy it on an ETF or you have it on an exchange, I might say those are also counterparty risks. That's why I self custody. But Bitcoin can be free of counterparty risk and acts of God.
Yeah.
So
Can be.
short of like meteor hits the earth,
Yeah. Well, it certainly has its own risks in terms of self custody and things like that.
self
So,
custody is
there's
responsibility.
it's not a free lunch, so to speak. But
Yeah.
yeah, in terms of like, well, just to give you sort of an odd example, like my mom, bless her heart, is actually into like Bitcoin and stuff like that. Not huge, like she doesn't go hog wild on it or anything like that. But I remember I was talking to her and she bought an investment property uh, back in 2016 or something like that. Um, it and I remember she paid, I don't know, 250,000 for the house or something like that. It's probably worth 400,000 or 500,000 today. And I said, if on that exact same day, at that exact same time, you had taken half that money and bought Bitcoin, it'd be worth $38 million today. So
Mhm.
it's when you start looking at the sort of, I mean, the average growth rate on this thing has been something 40 or 60, 40, 50, 60%, somewhere around there. But it fluctuates pretty wildly. There's a lot of volatility to that. But in terms of risk, it's funny you say you don't have a lot of high risk on the books and figured Bitcoin. I would actually argue it might go the other way. Like I think Bitcoin would be the low risk play, and then the real estate might actually be higher risk. I know
Could
it's
be.
controversial to say that out loud, and yet I think when you really start getting into how the network works and what like these operations, how it all functions and things like that, I think Bitcoin becomes a low risk play over the longer time horizon. And if you're
Yeah.
talking a long time horizon, like 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I think Bitcoin becomes far less risky. It's just hard to see now. Just like if someone was saying, hey, should I invest in the telephone company or should I invest in Microsoft in 1985? Almost everyone would have said the high risk play is Microsoft. The low risk play is go invest in AT&T, the unbroken up AT&T. But today you look back, you go, yeah, AT&T is shattered. It's in a million pieces. And the only thing that keeps them going is their cell networks. But Microsoft is obviously Microsoft, right? And so now that's the blue chip. The utilities are like the phone utility was a terrible play back then, but no one would have seen it. And I think the same is going to hold true for Bitcoin today. So that's sort of my take on things. Like I said, there's a reason why I hold everything in Bitcoin because I have a very, very, very low risk tolerance. And that's why I hold Bitcoin, as counterintuitive as that sounds. So it's like I said, I definitely think it's worth it. I mean, you're asking some great questions. You're obviously being very thoughtful about this, and you obviously have a lot of experience investing already. So it's
Yeah.
great to see people asking those questions because if you actually do start getting down that rabbit hole, it's a pretty fun place to be. And I feel I sleep very well at night with my net worth in Bitcoin. Oddly enough, I didn't sleep quite as well when I was in the stock market. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's it's a journey. It affected me for good long-term thinking. And yeah, not trying to chase a certain kind of fiat rabbit, hamster wheel, but once I got used to Bitcoin and could wrangle with the fiat volatility of it, like, oh, price is up, price is down. Oh, oh, oh. And it's a roller coaster, but it's been a generally zoom out enough uphill roller coaster ride. And looking back on it, it's like, oh man, Bitcoin crashed to 98K. Um, and, a year ago, it wasn't that far long ago. I remember thinking like, wow, it's, could have bought a whole Bitcoin at 20, 30K. So
Yeah,
and you can buy fractions of a Bitcoin. It's not like, oh, look for the right kind of parcel of land without the right kind of like liabilities or risks or counterparty stuff. But you're gonna like what a chunk of what $50,000, $30,000 for some land or a house, $100,000, $300,000 buying stocks. Well, I got to buy a whole stock or whatever it is. Bitcoin, it's like you just put a little bit in. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Put a little in.
Yeah.
20 bucks, 100 bucks.
It's a great savings battery,
Yeah.
and that's the neat thing about especially folks that have a little higher net worth and have a little more exposure to traditional assets and things like that. Um, yeah, that's great. Watching the miners videos, those are super interesting. You learn a lot about the network by watching what those folks are doing. But I mean, if you have, like the kind of argument I always make to people with a higher net worth is just go, if you lost 1% of your net worth tomorrow, what would happen to you? You go, nothing, right? I mean, like you might regret it. You might go, oh, geez, I can't believe I just lost whatever 1% of your net worth is. But it's not going to kill you. You're not going to be like, oh, living in a cardboard box all of a sudden, or you got to go move into your car or something like that. And so, as a sort of easy litmus test of that, you just go, well, just put 1% in, and it's almost a no brainer. Like Jeff Bezos had a great saying: if you have a bet that's got 100 to 1 odds of 1,000x return, you always take that bet every single time, regardless. And I would say the odds for Bitcoin doing that for you are much much higher than that, right? So but for me, like my risk tolerance, like I said, is super low, which is why I'm 100% Bitcoin. If I had a higher risk tolerance, I'd probably keep it at 1 or 5%.
Yeah.
I'm probably like, I know I'm being almost deliberately controversial, but it's true. It's legitimately the way I view this is like the super low risk play is to have all your assets in Bitcoin. The high risk play is to be beholden to the Federal Reserve and the military and U.S. policymakers. And you see every 4 years we get a completely different set of rules and changes, and then the tax code changes, and they're talking about all sorts of crazy stuff. So just having Bitcoin feels very safe to me.
Yeah, the whole safe harbor thing changed last minute too. They were like, "Oh, we're like reevaluating that," or I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, I mean, like Katie, I first bought Bitcoin in 2010, and I had to like go on a forum and send a money order to some guy to get it. And then as soon as I got it, like I didn't understand. I was trying to set up a miner at the time, couldn't figure it out. I was trying to figure out what these wallets meant. Like all of it was super overwhelming to me, and I was in the tech industry at the time. If when you start getting into it, like certainly don't feel bad if there is any inkling of it, of like having a little trouble wrapping your head around it, because it took me a long time, probably 14 years before I went, oh, I get it now, and I'm sort of like 100% oriented towards this sort of line of thinking anyway. So it's a tricky wicket to kind of figure it out. And there's a guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he's part of a company called the Bitcoin Way. He actually lost like 15 or 20 Bitcoin, and he'd been in it since like 2012. And him and his dad had been self-custodying this stuff and lost it all. It was about $1 million worth of Bitcoin, and just a devastating loss, right? So even people that have been around for a long time make mistakes and get tripped up on stuff and do dumb things. So trying to figure it out is a big sort of steep curve, which is why sometimes custodial solutions like Swan River, Fidelity can actually be better for a lot of folks, because you have some safety rails in place there. You're not going to be like philosophically aligned with the most hardcore Bitcoiners, but you're going to have access to the asset, and you're going to have some familiar safety rails in place. So yeah. Oh, I
Yeah, I
appreciate
think
that. Yeah, yeah, I am certainly more confident in Bitcoin, and
well,
it,
and that's after proof of work, navigating traditional finance and shitcoinery, crypto,
yeah,
and through all that navigation, threading the needle on what works, settling after lots of knowledge on Bitcoin.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not just like, hey, it seems to be the best crypto. No,
exactly.
no, no.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, Fritz brings up a really good point. I mean, I devoted a significant amount of I have a master's in finance, and I published. This is a legal finance degree, but I published a lot of papers on like securities law, bankruptcy law, things like that. And through all that academic learning, like I felt very confident in the fiat world. Like I used to teach a high net worth client planning class for the school I graduated from, and from all that information and kind of digging around through the history of a lot of this stuff, I now arrived at this Bitcoin conclusion, and so it's not to sort of parade some sort of like credentials or something like that. It's more just to highlight, like, I thought about it, like I didn't just, like Fritz said, I didn't just stumble into it. And I did
Mhm.
go through a big crypto phase where I was just like diving into crypto, and I kind of thought Bitcoin was the same thing as all that. And it's through all that learning and kind of hard knocks and kind of learning things the hard way that I've kind of arrived where I'm at now. And it's I think it's as inevitable as the internet was in the 1990s, and I think it's going to be more transformative by a mile. So
Mhm.
it's an exciting time to be part of it. So it's great. You're asking questions now because you're getting in early. You're contemplating buying Amazon or Microsoft in 1999. So it's kind of where you're at right now.
Yeah, and when you get excited about it, it's like, "Man, I'd love to be mining. I'd love to be mining too."
Hey, that's awesome,
Because
Katie. Thanks so much for joining us today. It was really fun
yeah,
chatting with you.
awesome. Yeah, great questions, great commentary.
Yeah,
Exciting to have, new interested people in it starting the journey too.
yeah,
And she sounds
100%.
very smart.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, when I first started thinking about mining too, part of me is like, I want to get my Bitcoin. And then, you know, well, it's sort of like other stuff too. I want to get more quicker. And if sort of like Matt Odell will just remind everybody, stay humble, stack sats, stay humble, stack sats. And that's honestly paid off the most out of
yeah,
everything else all the time. And iron gut hand wringing over stuff. If you just stay humble and stack sats, it's not timing the market, it's
yeah,
time in the market. And
yeah,
buy and hold,
yeah,
smash buy if you want, but DCA is fine.
yeah.
So,
Well, the longer you hold Bitcoin, the better things get. That's been my experience
yep,
so far. As soon as I quit trying to dick around with all this other stuff and just held on to Bitcoin, my life has changed 100%. I mean, it's night and day, So, uh, I get it's not for everybody. I get people kind of don't get it all the time, I mean, it's a lot to ask of somebody to kind of erase everything you've learned in the last however long you've been on planet Earth and start looking at a completely different sort of way of doing things. But I think the rewards for that effort are enormous. They certainly have been for me, just in terms of my personal life and my financial life and everything. So yeah, it's neat stuff.
this is so different with the live everything. I'm playing around with it.
Oh,
I just put in a little chat. We're figuring it out. Cool.
I seem to have just
Wow.
died.
Is it working? Maybe we're gonna get cut off here. Um, you froze up. I can still see me though. It's been an hour and 42 minutes. You dropped off. Oh, here you are. You back? Maybe you're back. Nope, he's gone. Nope, you're back.
I'm back. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just I had some client side exception error. Boom! It
Oh,
just exploded on me. Yeah, the whole thing exploded. I must have been making an amazing point or something.
yeah. It had to pass. Had to get past the filter for a second there.
Yeah.
Um, wow, hour and
Hey,
43
man.
minutes.
Yeah, it's been a nice little show today. So thank you
Yeah,
for
this is
everybody that
different.
joined us today. It's been super fun chatting about Bitcoin and talking to folks. And yeah,
Totally.
we'll be on again next week. Saturday mornings is a sort of our thing. We've been
Yeah.
Bitcoin Liberty Live for 37 episodes, and this is the first live episode.
It took us, what did it take us? 9 months, 6 months to figure out how to do it live, really?
Yeah,
Live.
yeah, live.
Kind
Well,
of
I
funny.
give all credit to Fritz. I mean, he's done a great job here. So yeah,
Maintaining
awesome,
a
man.
full-time fiat job and, life is busy. And then every weekend I'm like, oh yeah, we need microphones. Uh,
I've been saying that for months since day one.
I
Hey,
know.
thanks, Jill. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is awesome. Hey, we're gonna do this again. I like the live thing. We've never had like live audience participation, so
Yeah, we're
I'm loving
always
it.
just sitting there talking to each other in a bar somewhere.
I know. Or it's like hours later, here's this conversation we had this morning, and now it's late afternoon on a
Yeah,
Sunday, and people are like, you know, it different format. This is much more live.
yeah,
Bitcoin Liberty Live should be live.
Well, you came in just in time because the first hour was pretty dull. Just us talking about nonsense. So, all
Oh,
right.
this is
Well, I think
funny.
we're gonna wrap it up here, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jill.
Well,
Good
thank you,
comments.
everybody. Thanks, Joe, for joining us, and thanks everyone else. And we'll see y'all next week.
Yep. See ya. Toodles.